Alrighty, welcome to my channel everybody, and to this video. If you've got a window screen that you want to reframe, check this out. If you look out this window, the screen actually covers the entire length, vertical length of the window. So when you look out, your view is actually impeded. And so what I have done, and what we're going to show you how to do in this video, is to keep the screen on the bottom part. When the window's open, it's still screened, right? But you can see out the top part unimpeded. In other words, we're going to get rid of that frame or that screen and reframe the actual window. So, or the screen part of the window. So it basically looks like this on the outside, right? This screen actually went and covered the entire window. You can see the top panes there are now have no screen on them. So how did we do this? It's a really simple job. We're going to be, you can see the kind of the material. We've got this white metal with these little 90-degree corner pieces that we're going to be basically taking out and cutting down. So first thing is first, let's get started here. We're going to remove the screen. Now I happen to be on the second floor of our home, so you want to be really careful if you're removing the screen right from here. Also of note is that I can't get around the other side at all to do anything, so we're going to be all working from the inside only for this one. But if you have, first floor windows or screens, this will be optimal for you. So we're going to remove the screen, and then we're going to just kind of get an eyeball measurement of how tall we want our new screen to be. In this case, we're going to measure from the base of the window where the screen is kind of placed, and then I'm going to note the maximum distance that I want my screen to be in terms of height. And then we're going to take this out to the garage or down to the garage and put a measurement on there. So in this case, it's going to be a maximum of 20 inches. If I exceed 20 inches, so I'm going to mark that with a blue here, a blue marker. If I exceed that, then the new frame on the screen will be visible from the window, and I don't want that. I want it to be kind of hidden behind that, the existing window itself. So we're going to go ahead and mark that, and just to be sure, this is the measurement, almost 7/8. I'm just going to make it a clean inch, and we're going to make those marks right there. So the pencil lines will be my cut lines, and I'm going to use a hacksaw. The blue line again is my kind of do not exceed. So I'm going to, once I have that marked, I'm going to go ahead and forget about that blue line. And what we're going to be doing here is cutting the frame. But before we do that, because we don't want to cut the screen or anything, we're going to actually remove, don't use a pencil, you'll snap off the tip. Get a dull kind of flathead screwdriver, make sure it's not sharp, super sharp. I have a kind of a wider one, a bigger one, that allows me to tuck under there and pry out this rubber piece. It's kind of a rubberized plastic piece, and depending on how old your frames are, it might be pretty brittle and you might find it snapping. Mine snapped it, you'll see here in a minute, it snapped it at one point, but generally they're in pretty good shape. So you can certainly replace this part if you need to. And I'm going to back out that top one only and the sides as well. Notice I switched to a needle nose pliers to kind of pull that out, and you're going to kind of back that out of the little groove there, because doing so will allow you to remove the screen. Now be careful, we're not going to remove the entire screen, but we are going to remove it and kind of peel it back down to kind of just past our cut line. So let me continue to remove this piece back so you get an idea of what we're doing here. This again is the top part of the screen, and we are going to salvage some of these parts, especially the corner pieces. That's pretty important, so we don't have to go out and buy new ones. So we'll just those kind of just pop out once the screen is removed from that piece. Okay, so this is kind of how it's going to look. We're trying to rebuild this top part and just move it down a little further, right, to our 20-inch mark, more or less. So I've got the pencil lines on both sides now, and those are my cut lines here. You can see I've wrapped that mark around the other side. Okay, and I'm just going to verify to make sure, because you only get to cut once, right? So measure 3 times, cut once. And make sure they're, obviously want that to be parallel with each other. So make sure your measurements are good. And I'm going to walk this rubber plastic stopper thing back, just like I said, just south of the cut line. Not too far, because you don't want that screen to loosen up at all. the screen that we're going to be using. We'll be discarding some of that top part of the screen. You'll see momentarily. But for now, let's walk this back the whole way. You can see the cut line there. So I'm kind of going about, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch south of the cut line. I need enough clearance for my hacksaw. So I'm going to peel that back, and now my hacksaw can easily reach my cut lines without damaging the screen or anything like that. Notice I have some 2x4 braces underneath. And with my left hand, I will hold that down, and my right hand, I will go ahead and saw that away. And once I got kind of most of it sawed through, the metal just kind of snips, kind of like that. You just bring it back and forth a couple times, and it should break cleanly. You might need a metal file to, if there's any jagged pieces that would prevent your new 90-degree plastic corner piece from going in to the hole. You might need to take a moment and clean that up. In my case, it was pretty clean. And if that pinched at all, you might need to get out your screwdriver and kind of put it in there and try to widen that out a little bit. Because what we're going to do next is take these corner pieces. This is the existing piece, right, from the screen frame, and we're just going to pop them in just like that. How easy is that, right? So we're not buying anything new. We're just using the existing pieces. So we just shortened up those sides basically, and we're going to reattach the top part. And here's what I'm saying: if you need to widen that out, or if there's some scrap metal from your cut that wasn't super clean, but for the most part, it should just kind of press down. And obviously be delicate and careful on this. You don't want to bend the frame or anything. But it should kind of pop down like that. I'm working with one hand here, so bear with me. It's a little easier with two once I put the camera down. There we go. Those corners are now in. Now see what I mean? If you take too much of the screen out, it's actually not going to be taut or tight anymore. So you only want to back out that screen just a little bit south of that cut line that you just made. And from there, it's a matter of repositioning the rubber, plastic, black stopper thing into the groove. And we're going to do that right now. And we're going to make a couple of cuts. You want that to be as close as you can to the corner. There we go. And to push that down into the groove, you can use a needle nose pliers. Just make sure it's kind of soft or dull at the end, or a screwdriver. And you'll just kind of poke it down like that, taking caution not to slip. Make sure that doesn't slip as you press. You don't want that puncturing or piercing the screen for obvious reasons. And then, again, using the existing piece, or if yours broke during the removal process, you might have to replace that, but we'll take that piece and measure it out, and that should go nicely into the groove on the top part, securing that screen nice and taut. And you can look at the existing to see which orientation. We kind of want the smooth side down to start with. You can see it's kind of it's got this little lip on it, and then your screwdriver goes right here, just kind of like that. You want something where your screwdriver can bite on it. If you put the smooth side facing up, that is incorrect. Your screwdriver might slip, and there's no place for it to kind of attach to. So you want kind of that smooth side down, and you're going to go along kind of like this with said screwdriver or needle nose pliers, and very delicately, kind of every inch or so, kind of do a pressure point. If you slide it, just be careful. Again, there could be some slipping happening, I noticed, that could result in that screwdriver puncturing the screen as you do this. So just be extra diligent during this part. And normally you'd have to like pull this screen super tight while you're doing this, right? But again, because we didn't back out any of the screen except for maybe 3/4 or an inch or so past that, south of that cut line, it's already super tight and taut. So we don't have to worry about making sure the tension is correct. And then you snip off the end there, you can see, and it should align perfectly into the corner. And from there, what do you think the next stage is, or step? Yeah, obviously, razor blade time. We're going to cut the screen, And I'll give you a better view here in just a minute. And we're going to cut this to get rid of the excess. Now, before you do this, again, make sure that black rubber plastic stopper is embedded fully in the groove. You don't want that to be loose at all, or to be not tight or snug before you cut, because once you, if this slips or the screen isn't, if that's not tight, that screen's going to pop out, and then you're really going to be screwed if you've already made your cut with your razor blade. So make sure that black rubber plastic thing is in the groove all the way, and then obviously a sharp razor blade is preferable to one that's dull. And be careful just not to damage. You don't want to actually cut the black part. You can kind of angle it 45 degrees or so, and you don't want to cut too much of the metal. If you do a little bit, I think that's okay. But it should go right along the groove, right to the right of the black plastic stopper. And just make several passes, or preferably one pass if you're sharp enough. Mine's a little dull, you can see, but then the rest should kind of wrestle out or pop out like that. And you can get rid of that excess screen and kind of brush away some of the remnants. And there we go. We have a brand new screen that's reframed and resized. Now, because this was a full fitting frame, there's these little tension pieces of metal on the top of the screen frame. If you wiggle them back and forth like that several times, they just snap off. We're going to get rid of those because I don't need them anymore. You would have the option of keeping them, but I don't want them to be visible at all. Those were designed to go up into the windowsill, into the frame of the window, remember? And then it allows you a little spring, so to speak. And so before you put this back, I do recommend, especially if you're on a second floor and you can't access the outside, to push the screen in. Put a little piece of clear Scotch tape on one of the corners, and that'll allow you to position the new frame in the window frame, just like this, and then pull that corner tight as your last step. Again, if you're on a first floor and you can access this, you'll just go around outside the house and just make sure that's snug, push it in, right? So second floor, it's a little bit more tricky, but that's why I'm doing this as the example in the video. If you can do this one, the first floor, if you've got access to the outside, is a lot easier. So then you can kind of pull that tab like that, and you can keep it on there, or you can remove it. I'm gonna keep mine on there. It's Scotch tape. It's not visible or noticeable. So that is it. We can now see clearly out the top part of our window, just like that, unencumbered by a screen. So hopefully this has helped you out. Click that like button if it has, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more do-it-yourself solutions. Thanks.